Will artificial intelligence destroy our society? Is deepfake technology going to be outlawed? Welcome back to Alternative Jargon. What's up, guys? It's been a little while. It feels good to be back, though. I have no excuse for not making a podcast since last July. It just hasn't happened. I always feel like I need a good idea and a good script and everything before hopping in front of the mic, you know? Like, I don't want to just do one on a whim because I have no clue what I'd talk about. Oh shoot, I didn't even turn the camera on. Hold up.
Alright, I believe we're recording now. That is my bad. Oh, it's a tight squeeze. Alright. So, here we are again. Camera's on. Alright. So, as you can see, today's topic of discussion is artificial intelligence. Now, artificial intelligence is something we've been hearing about for years, but honestly, it seems like it's really escalated recently. I've been seeing so many videos on my TikTok of the AI presidents. If you don't know what I'm talking about, essentially, there's software now where you can upload, a short snippet of somebody talking, and it will convert it into a fully functional artificial voice that you can use to say whatever you want. And naturally, the first thing people do is make the presidents play Minecraft together. And I really enjoy it. So, yeah. Now, I'd like to reveal something, and this is twist 1 out of 2 on the show today. And that was that the intro was fake, if you didn't notice. That was not me talking in the intro. The intro was completely fabricated. I used the software. It's called 11 Labs, so I had to do a little class project where I read a script and I uploaded that script to the website. I paid $1 for an elite membership, and then I had my own AI voice. So I'm going to put up a little Instagram poll for this episode where you can go and say yes or no as to whether you picked up on the twists. But that's twist 1. That was not me talking during the intro. When the camera was off, I don't have deep fake technology to fake my own words and mouth moving yet. But when I get there, we'll definitely have a part 2 to this episode. So yeah, that's why the camera, quote unquote, malfunctioned. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. I uploaded this speech of me talking, and it does a little buffer symbol. You have to check a box that says you won't use that for any malicious intent, which I'm sure will stop anyone from using it for malicious intent. And then about 10 seconds later, you have a chat box, and you type whatever you want in there, and it poops it out for you. And there you go. You can make yourself or anybody else who you have a short snippet of talking say whatever you want. So, because of this technology, I have a couple of really big names who were able to put some time aside and, have a little conversation on the show today. So we're going to jump into that. Really grateful that they were able to come on today and talk, and hopefully put their differences aside. So we've got a little segment here that we're going to transition over to. And I'm not able to do it live on the show. This was earlier, actually last week, that we were able to get them together. So let's cut to that.
Alrighty, guys. So I really apologize that I do not have video for this part. But these guys are very busy. so I don't have time to set everything up. But I've got two very high-profile people with me today. They were able to set some time aside. Let's see if my guests are connected here. Hey, can you guys hear me?
Affirmative. Hey, what's up?
Well, hey, I'd like to thank you guys for taking the time. I know you're both very busy, so thanks for being here.
Frankly, David, I'm very impressed that you were able to get two presidents on your show at the same time.
Yeah, man, all jokes aside, that's pretty dope.
Yes, the fact you were able to get the 45th and 47th president on here is absolutely insane.
Oh, come on, man. Are you kidding me right now?
Shut up, Joe. You know I'm moving back in next year.
Well, Donald, I've got to admire your confidence at least.
Nobody is more confident than me, believe me.
Yeah, right, buddy.
Fellas, I actually asked you on the show today to ask you to name just one thing that you both like about each other, if that's possible.
I like that this guy lost to me in the election.
Joe, everybody knows you stole the election. The voters want me back.
Guys, come on now. Stay focused, all right? Come on, one thing.
You know what? Let's move past this. Don, how would you like to meet up for coffee?
Fine, Joe, let's do it. Can I bring Barron with me?
Sure, my next available date is January 6th of next year. That work for you?
F*** you, Joe.
Okay, well, that did not go as planned. It appears President Trump has left the call. Well, President Biden, I'd like to thank you for joining the show today.
What show am I on?
All right, well, President Biden left now, too. I don't know, I guess one of his handlers left the meeting for him. Well, I mean, their time is very important. They're both working on stuff, so didn't go as planned, but at least I was able to have them on. So, yeah, I guess this will be a very short segment, but back to the show.
All right, well, I didn't want to spoil the interview. Before I showed it to you, I said, hopefully they can put their differences aside. Turns out, apparently they couldn't. I mean, it's been 2 years since the election, but those two are still bickering like it was just yesterday. But I guess that's just American politics. Bitter rivals there. Obviously, Donnie's saying he's going to be back in 2 years. We'll see. It's going to be interesting to see what happens there. I apologize for the language that Mr. Trump used as well. We try to keep it PG-13 here on the show. This is a family-friendly audience. Although the realm for PG-13 has widely shifted in the past 20 years. Seems like you can get away with a lot. In 10 years, a rated R movie will probably just be posted to LiveLeak or something. So we'll see. But anyway, obviously that's just a little fun joke. Having some fun playing around with the AI voices. It's tough to find audio online of people just talking. It was easier with presidents because they're always in front of a mic speaking. But if you want like an actor or an athlete or somebody, it gets harder. I was playing around with some other people, but you'd be surprised. Almost every movie scene or every speech given at the Oscars by an actor is interrupted by some type of music or applause or other character dialogue, whatever it may be. But it's really hard to get just raw talking. And so I think that's one of the big reasons why a lot of the AI voices that I'm seeing on TikTok play Minecraft together is people like presidents, people like that, because there's so much just raw audio of them talking that you can get really, really accurate results. Another big one that I see a lot is Joe Rogan. Nothing else to say there. I mean, the guy has how many hundreds of hours of just him talking. So obviously, when you upload, when you want to copy, excuse me, geez. When you want to copy somebody's voice, it's a lot easier when it's somebody who talks a lot and it's just raw audio. But I did try. I had a couple celebrities contact me, and I tried to replicate their voice. They gave me a little, 1 second. Is it still flu season? I don't know. But I got a couple of endorsements from some very high-profile people. So let's run those next. Quick little ad on the show here. So, sorry for the ad break. It's my first ever ad break.
This is Leonardo DiCaprio. I hope you're doing well. I'd like you to kick back, relax, and enjoy this episode of Alternative Jargon.
My father was a podcaster, and one night he goes off crazier than usual. It's simple. We kill the Batman. Then we listen to Alternative Jargon. Why so serious?
Hey, it's your boy Drizzy. Welcome to Alternative Jargon.
Yeah, so big shout outs to Drake, Leonardo DiCaprio, and especially Heath Ledger, who decided to come back from the grave just to give a shout out on the show. Give a big hand to them. It's really nice to get a shout out from such high profile, famous people. That could possibly put me on the map. But all jokes aside, enough about the joking aspect of this new technology from 11 Labs. Today, we're actually going to do some real journalism on here. I have a guy named Gregory Rodriguez, graduated from MIT Computer Science. He has been working with 11 Labs. I believe he said for the past, well, it hasn't been 11 Labs the whole time, but he's been in the industry of artificial intelligence now for about 5 years. And Gregory is very, very well versed in the work that they're doing at 11 Labs. So I actually had him on for an interview. This is not a joke. And I sat down with him, and he was on his lunch break at work, so it's a very short interview. He's very busy. He has a family as well. He's busy. When he's not doing the artificial intelligence, he's helping to raise his family. Really great guy, though. Sat down with him. So let's cut over to that interview real quick.
Hey, Greg, can you hear me?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, of course. And thank you so much for coming on to talk about your work. I know that you're very busy, but I really appreciate it.
You know, believe it or not, this is the first interview I've done about my work at 11 Labs, so I'm excited to share my work with you.
Great. First question, I'd like to start by asking you how the software is able to replicate voices so quickly. Like, I did one for this episode just to see if people could tell the difference, and I uploaded my voice because I had a little project for school, and the software at 11 Labs literally had the fake voice ready for me in seconds. I didn't wait more than a minute before I could start typing.
So it all has to do with our unique software we've built that's able to take different octaves and tones and then train it to say any word you type. We use a similar software as things like Amazon Alexa, but ours is more sophisticated in order to replicate any voice you submit.
That's amazing. I've noticed it seems like the AI technology has been progressing like a lot more rapidly recently than before, and I was wondering if there's any reason for that you are aware of after working in the industry for a while.
Well, not many people know this, but the COVID pandemic as well as the conflict in Ukraine has heavily increased demand for this sort of thing.
Really? How so? Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah. I dropped my phone on the floor, my bad. But anyway, I'm not an expert on foreign policy or pandemics, but there has been much demand for this sort of tech in the government and military.
Yeah, and I've got to ask, is this a situation where the technology that the public has at its fingertips, like 11 Labs and a few others, is that really just the tip of the iceberg for what the government has?
I am not in the government, so I cannot answer that with 100% certainty. But if I were to wager, I'd say that what you just said is probably correct.
Wow, okay.
And just a side note, it would not surprise me at all if this stuff is already in use by many of the powers that be, and has been for a little while.
Well, yeah, that was going to be my next question, actually.
So what you're seeing from us at 11 Labs, I am familiar with colleagues of mine who have sold software even more powerful than what we have now to private contractors who deal with the government. And that was, I think, 3 years ago in 2020.
Okay, well, that is kind of a bombshell. Honestly, when I had you on the show, I didn't expect to make any big breaks or headlines like that, but that is new information, at least to me. I honestly have not researched that in depth about the whole AI situation. But I guess you heard it here first on Alternative Jargon, as far as I know.
Yeah, man, I haven't signed any type of NDA for my company, so I'm happy to provide you and the world with some insight.
Well, hey, I appreciate your time greatly. I understand that you only had a few spare minutes today on your lunch break, so I'm going to let you get back to your day. And once again, thank you so much, Greg.
Alrighty, it was nice to chat with you, David, and I hope this could get you some exposure for your podcast.
Alrighty, guys, go follow Greg on Instagram and Twitter. His @ is AI_GregoryR. That's AI_GregoryR. Really great guy, smart guy, and he obviously has some inside info on the artificial intelligence industry. So we will get back to the show.
All right, so that interview was like absolutely unbelievable. I tried to like keep my cool during that interview, but I'm getting chills just thinking about it again because obviously this podcast is not supposed to be a news thing. I'm not here to break headlines or stories. It's fun. I like to talk, and I thought I'd take this episode to the next level and actually get someone from the industry with some real insight on the show. But when I heard the whole COVID and Ukraine and the stuff about the private contractors, that blew me away. And honestly, it was unreal. It was unreal. It was unreal. Because Gregory Rodriguez does not exist, as far as I know. He does not work at 11 Labs. He is a figment of my imagination. I made up the name. The picture that you saw on the screen of him is just a picture I found of some guy on Google Images. I tried to make him look like a Gregory Rodriguez. I'm sure there's thousands of people out there with the name Gregory Rodriguez. It's very generic, and he doesn't exist. I just had an interview with artificial intelligence, and I'd like to sort of take that. By the way, if the Instagram and Twitter @ AI_GregoryR, I have not searched. So if there's someone with that tag out there and they get a follow, all proceeds go to Alternative Jargon for that. But yeah, it doesn't exist. And that's twist number 2. Once again, I'm going to put up an Instagram story. I'd like to see if people who watched or listened to this episode were actually maybe fooled by that. And with that, I'd like to transition the show into more of a talk about the possible future dangers of AI. Because I do think it's going to be dangerous. And I think it could really screw some stuff up, to be honest. And I think a lot of people, when they hear about AI and they hear about the threat that it poses to people and humanity and society, whatever, I feel like a lot of people envision like iRobot, where there's a bunch of humanoid robots that, turn militant and then start killing people. And I mean, maybe that could happen. I don't think that if AI is going to take over the world, it's not going to be like that. I think. I mean, what do I know? But my thing is this, right? We obviously program AI to do what we tell it to do. We program it to mimic voices or to write papers for us. We don't program AI to kill us or to want to kill us. I don't know. I don't think that like AI could get a mind of its own and, I don't know, pose a threat to us physically. I just don't know how that would work. If we don't program it to, how is it ever going to do its own thing? I'm not a computer scientist, but I think there is a different way that it could really screw up society. And I've got a few scenarios to run through, just off the top of my head, ways that things like 11 Labs or things like deepfake technology, which if you didn't know, deepfakes are basically the AI voice, but for people's faces and bodies and things like that. Where essentially if you have enough pictures and angles of a person's face, with the power of AI and other technology, you can paste their face onto any body in any video. And that's a little scary. That's pretty, I mean, it's all scary, but that has been used for very bad things. I mean, I'm sure you can imagine what people have done with that technology. Not good. I'm not going to mention it explicitly, but I think you can use your own brain to imagine what people might do with that. It's not good. But the first scenario that could really F things up, if you will, is if this technology with audio or video modification through the use of artificial intelligence, like I used for the fake interviews and the president's thing, is if that becomes more on demand, right? Remember on demand when I was a kid, it was all the channels that you weren't allowed to touch with a remote. So right now, like the AI voices that I use for this podcast, I had to go out and find clean audio snippets of those people talking, and then it would load into a voice, and then I would have to type out each individual sentence. And in order to make it sound more realistic, so how it works is I paid the $1 membership to join 11 Labs, and you type out whatever you want, and then you click a generate button, and you get like 30,000 characters per month to type. And just doing these few little jokes and little interviews and things, I used 15,000. And the main reason for that is because I kept going through and re-clicking the generate button and then replaying it over and over to get one that sounded believable. So there's these little sliders on 11 Labs. Let me go here and see. So there's these voice settings, and I'll put up a screenshot. There's like voice stability and then clarity, and I sort of scrub those sliders around to make whatever conversation is happening sound more real or more believable or more like the person. And so for each little sentence there, it took me, I'd say on an average of 10 different tries, 10 different regenerations of the voice to get it sounding right, because even if you have the same settings, you click generate twice and it comes out with 2 different results every single time. So in that way, it's still a little unreliable. But if this becomes on demand and possibly more customizable, right, where you upload one voice and maybe eventually it gets to the point where you just talk into it and then it automatically switches it right away, things like that. Or if it gets more advanced settings where, you know, you can attach a mood to it, is the person mad, sad, things like that, where it can just automatically turn these things into something else. That's scary, and I'll tell you why. Because you could be having a phone conversation with someone who you think is a friend or a family member. It sounds identical to them in every way. All of their mannerisms and the way they talk, their tone, everything could be, similar, but you're not actually talking to that person. And so that's a little bit scary. I Okay, I have not done the edit on the conversation with Gregory Rodriguez yet, so I don't know how good it's going to sound, but I'm going to try my best with it to make it sound legit. And it might not still sound perfect. Gregory might sound more like a robot than a person. I mean, he does work in computer science, but if that becomes better, then not only could you have a conversation with someone who's not really the person, right? Let's say you have a family member who gets kidnapped and the kidnapper calls you and says, "Hey, I'm okay," and it sounds just like the family member. Or how about the news? Now, I think it's kind of unlikely that a major news network would use this because they would get caught out and the ramifications for them would be huge. But let's say a smaller, independent person with bad intentions fakes a whole interview, and it gets out and people think it's real, and then you have all these questions, right? I don't even want to mention the term fake news because that's... aren't we all sick of that term? But it could be used for that. It could be used for anything. And if the video stuff gets on par with the audio stuff too, that would be even scarier because then you'd have video to go along with it. There is that thing, I forget what it's called, but it's software that checks photos for possible Photoshop. I guess it uses some sort of bot or something for that, but you can put a picture in there and then it'll highlight parts that look fishy. Maybe we'd have some technology like that to check someday, but I mean, if this stuff gets any better than it already is, it's going to be really hard. And to be honest, I'm a young kid. I'm not like an old grandma who could be more susceptible to, a phony phone call or things like that. But I see videos online all the time that I have to take a double take at because it takes me a minute or two to realize if what I'm even seeing is real. And that has really accelerated recently, like I said. I mean, before, a couple years ago, 3 years ago, I would see some videos like that and I'd be like, oh, I mean, it looks kind of convincing, but I can still tell it's fake. But now it seems like every day it gets harder and harder to tell. And where are we going to go from here, right? So, I mean, think about Hollywood de-aging, right? The new Indiana Jones coming out this summer. I mean, Harrison Ford's 105, but they got him looking like he's in 1977 again. And obviously that takes a ton of time and work by all the people in post-production. Props to them. They don't get shouted out enough, but eventually it's going to be easier and easier if we keep moving forward like we have been. And, you're going to be able to do anything with that. So that is scenario one, the on-demand audio and video modification. It could screw with the news. It could make fake phone calls, very easy. I mean, how do you monitor that? It's kind of wild to me that we're in the year 2023 and a phone call still sounds as bad as it does. The audio is still not the greatest on phone calls. I mean, it's fine. I'm not complaining, but that just makes it easier for fake ones too, because if the audio is already not the best, then AI, you're just opening the door for that even more. But let's go to scenario two, and that is marketing algorithms. So I could envision a future where somebody invents an AI that is so good with marketing that you wouldn't really need people to work in marketing, right? Because what is a marketing job? It's analytics, it's surveys, it's all these things. And you have millions of people working in that industry, the business industry, right? What's the biggest college degree? Probably business, right? Or marketing or something of that sort. But if we had an AI that was so good at marketing to people, that could put so many people out of work. So I would envision it as something like a quiz for people's preferences about entertainment, politics, religion, their values, etc., and then that AI would formulate everything from what that person should buy to the movies they should watch. We already see algorithms like TikTok's For You page, and right, Netflix has an algorithm I know Netflix has a thing where it's like, depending on a person's movie and show preferences, then whenever it shows, first of all, it shows different shows and movies based on what you watch. Obviously, that's simple. But then it also will show different, like posters or different screenshots for the movie, depending on what that person likes. So, I'm trying to think of a movie. Let's say, all right, let's take The Wolf of Wall Street, for example. If it was on Netflix, and somebody is really into action movies, then the picture for A Wolf of Wall Street might be the yacht crash. But if another person just likes movies with attractive female leads, then it would probably be Margot Robbie. So that's an example. That's more of a simple thing, but I'm just saying we already have stuff like that, but it's only going to get more advanced. And if somebody came up with this AI software and then sold it to a ton of the big companies, I would think about it like you go to the store and you want to pay with a credit card, and right, you have Visa, you have MasterCard, which, like, stuff like that, it's accepted basically everywhere. And if somebody invented an AI software like that was so universal and was so used everywhere, then eventually that could just kill jobs for people all over the place. And let's talk about something else here too. If artificial intelligence got good enough, it could make its own movies or shows or music or anything based on what someone wants, right? So I think I mentioned earlier, I don't know if I did, but ChatGPT is this software that came out recently where basically you can type anything you want. You can give it a command and it will spit something back out in seconds. I have not used this one personally, but I've seen videos of people using it and turning things into school with it. So, you can ask it to write a whole essay on things. And basically you can just type like, write me a 5-paragraph essay about climate change, and it would spit it right back out. And I mean, obviously it makes little mistakes here and there, but for the most part, it seems to work pretty good. And there's also, a little while back, there was, I followed this Twitter account called like Weird DALL-E Pictures or something. And DALL-E is basically ChatGPT, but for pictures. So you could type Donald Trump at McDonald's playing in the ball pit, and it would spit out all these pictures. Now, granted, a lot of them looked a little bit off or very off, but every once in a while it would spit out one that was like a perfect high definition photograph of Donald Trump playing in the ball pit at McDonald's. And I mean, obviously, anyone with half a brain could probably look at that and say, hey, that's fake. But this is sort of the theme of this episode. It's going to get better. Eventually, it will get better. And when it does, we might be screwed. But eventually, okay, we can already do that for words, right? We can have an essay written for us by AI. We can do it for pictures. How soon is it going to be until it can do videos? And it can do music, right? Let's say you've always wanted to hear a song. Let's say you want to revive a dead artist, okay? And eventually there's software where you can type, I want to hear Michael Jackson and Travis Scott. I want to hear a whole album, an EDM album with Michael Jackson and Travis Scott. And I want it to feature Morgan Freeman on every bass drop, right? It'd be kind of cool. and then it spits it out, and you get what you get. So the main theme of this part is in a few years, if it goes like this, will we need artists? Will we need filmmakers? Will we need writers? And that's a scary thought. We already mentioned, will we need people to work in marketing if it progresses too far? Now, are we going to need anyone with any artistic ability, or can we just ask a robot to do it for us and make something probably cooler because it can happen instantaneously? There's been a lot of hot debate recently about quote-unquote AI art done by these things like DALL-E, where you type whatever you want and it spits out a picture. Does that stuff take away from other real-life artists who really do the work to make it? I think so. I mean, now, obviously, you have this technology. People are going to play with it, right? I've played with it. It's so much fun. You know how much fun I had doing the voice things for this episode? It's a blast. It's really fun, and it's funny to hear people say dumb stuff, and it's funny to use the DALL-E thing to make funny pictures. But then it's like, all right, if this is used for real intent, then what happens to artists, It's a good question. It's a good question, because you can get whatever you want almost instantly. But yeah, I mean, this could put a lot of people out of work. Why would you spend millions of dollars to make a movie or an album or a book in the future when you could fully customize the content, the characters, the soundtrack, etc., and have it at the click of a button? Okay. Let's say I want to see Christian Bale star in an action movie where I want Christian Bale to be in Fast and Furious 10. Right? I want him in there. So you type that out, you click the button, and we don't have this yet, but maybe someday it spits out a 2-hour-long movie, full feature length, and they just put him in there somehow, right? We don't have that type of power yet, but we never thought we would have the type of power to do any of this stuff. So it's on the way. So that is sort of scenario 2. And those, I couldn't think of much else, but really that puts so many people potentially out of work, so many livelihoods. Yeah, I don't know. So I don't think that if artificial intelligence, takes over the world, it's not going to be the army of marching robots with assault rifles and cannons for arms. I don't think it's going to be like that, but I don't know. Could be bad. Could be bad. Although an army of robots with cannons for arms would kind of be cool. But what's the solution? What is the solution? Is it regulation? Should artificial intelligence be regulated? And if it's not, how would it be stopped? Okay, there's the age-old question or theory of, even though you can, should you, right? They asked could we, but they never asked should we. I think it's just human nature to continue to push the envelope and keep progressing and advancing and make things better. That's just how we are, right? I think it's hard you can't just tell people don't keep going, don't progress it any further, because we want to see what it's capable of, we want to see what we're capable of creating. But man, it reaches a point where it's like, all right, this is kind of getting out of hand. But I honestly think that there has to be some way to thwart this, or to stop it, or everything that I just mentioned, the 2 doomsday scenarios, that will eventually happen, right? Because who wouldn't want to just type in the box and have it poop out a movie? That'd be sick, right? I'd put myself in a movie, right? We could all be movie stars on a Hollywood budget in a few years. You just upload a picture of your face from 10 different angles, upload your own voice talking for a minute, right? Some of your mannerisms, maybe a video of you walking around, and then boom, I'm in Fast and Furious 10, right? I am Spider-Man. I'm Batman. I'm anyone I want to be, and it's all fake. But who cares? You know how cool that would look? We're going to get there. We're going to get there. And it would be really cool. But then why would you ever go to the movie theater? Now, there's also a theory, like maybe people, it would be fun to play around with, but people would still want to see what was made organically, right? At least I would. I mean, even though I could be Spider-Man and Batman, I still would want to go to the theater and see something that was made legitimately. But then the other question is, if it progressed to this point, would anything be made legitimately? Maybe the movie studios in the future, if AI got to this point, would just have AI that was a tick better than everyone else's. So when Robert Pattinson steps into the bat suit, there's no pixels, or it's not blurry, the frame rate doesn't drop. When you try it, it's a little choppy. But when, when DC Comics does it, when the Warner Bros. Do it, it just looks a little bit better, right? I don't know. I don't know where it stops. I don't know if it does stop. But the only thing I could really think of to stop it is possibly regulation. Maybe it gets banned, right? I hadn't ever heard of this 11 Labs thing until about a month ago, and then I decided to buy the membership just to do this podcast, just to try it out. I have since canceled my membership. I don't really want to. Well, I'm not going to use it. Well, the first month was $1, and then every month after that is $5. Which, I'm not going to use it anymore. I just wanted to use it for this episode, to show it off a little bit and talk about it. And I don't really want to contribute money to that industry, honestly. But I have given $1 towards the cause of the apocalypse. So you can pin it on me. If the world goes to crap, you can pin it on my dollar. But I digress. If they were to regulate AI, how would they do it? Right. My first thought was, okay, let's go back to the marketing thing. The marketing AI algorithm. Let's say that they say, all right, the government issues a regulation. Hey, at least 20%, at least 80% of your marketing workforce within a company has to be humans and not AI, right? Let's not cut all the marketing jobs out. So let's say, yeah, you can use the AI a little bit, but you still got to employ people. Sounds fair, right? The problem, though, you don't pay AI a wage. You don't keep track of its hours. So how would that work, right? And how do you know you're not fudging the numbers? And I don't know. It's a tough situation. I don't plan on running for Congress anytime soon. So I'm not going to lose sleep over the regulation of artificial intelligence in the next 50 years. But I don't know how they would regulate it. Honestly, the only solution I can really think about the whole problem would be regulation, right? I know that word is scary. Regulation, that's a scary one. Let's not say that word. It's like saying Voldemort. You can't say that. But I don't know. How else would you do it? You can't just tell people, hey, don't keep doing. You can't just say, I think you should stop developing your software. They're going to keep doing it, but I don't know. How do you cut it out? How do you cut it back? But yeah, take a step back and look at the world we're living in. It's pretty crazy. I think it's crazy that we live through, like, quote-unquote futuristic things without really thinking twice about it. And it's not out of the ordinary to think about when you're living through it. But if you told me when I was 5 years old that in the next, 16 years, we would have technology that could mimic anyone's voice and change the voice, I'd be like, that's crazy. Isn't that going to be like the year 2100? I mean, if I made this podcast 300 years ago, assuming that I had a camera and a microphone 300 years ago, I would have been lynched and hung from a tree and called a witch by a mob of angry colonials. It's sort of like black magic. I can mimic anyone in the world's voice and post it online, and is it real? Who knows? Who knows? But it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. It is black magic. It is black magic. But I have canceled my 11 Lab membership, and I don't plan on using ChatGPT or any of that stuff anytime soon. So, yeah, I'm going to be writing my own papers, but anyway, go vote on the Instagram poll. I want to see if you guys got I want to see if you guys got the twists, plural. So if you listen this far, I really appreciate it. This is the longest episode of Alternative Jargon. I really put more work into this episode than I ever have before. Just doing the AI interviews and writing those scripts and stuff probably took a few hours, which doesn't sound like much, but usually when I do an episode, it's just, I just sort of jump in the pool and see if I'll swim. But yeah, it's good to be back. It's good to make another episode. I hope you enjoyed. That's the show.